Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far. We got a few things to talk about in this morning's video, and the first thing we'll talk about, and this will probably take up the majority of the video, is a time period I'm watching just before Christmas. Now, this time period could link into Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. We got to still figure that one out, but this time period could bring some unsettled weather, and there could be multiple rounds of it. Could be one main storm. We got to figure all this out. I'm very, very interested in this period, just because it's right before Christmas, and I'm sure a lot of people are also, because a lot of people's going to be traveling, doing things, and all that stuff. So we need to figure this one out. You know, the thing that we're the most confident in is that we're going to have another shot of cold air that does take over the eastern U.S. right before Christmas. Is this going to kind of link into Christmas or after? We still got to figure that one out too. So there's a lot to figure out, but what we're going to do here is go over all the model guidance that we have from overnight to this morning. We'll nerd out with you guys a little bit. We'll break down those temperatures compared to average, and then after that, we'll talk about what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Thursday. So a lot to cover. And like I said, we're going to be speaking on what we're watching going forward just before Christmas a lot over the next several days. This will be the main weather topic outside of the daily forecast, if you will. And we might have to start to double up the videos, which we haven't done in a while. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. I do have a cat behind me. You see any movement? It's just cats. I'm not sure how many cats I have in here because we're watching our neighbor right now. I'm taking them to school this morning. Typically, all the cats get scared and run into the room. So if you see movement, it's probably just cats. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So let's start off by looking at the GFS, and we'll start off by tomorrow afternoon, the 13th. If you're wondering what time frame we're at, look up here. You might see, FRI, just the acronyms for days, 13th of December. So I know it's probably pretty small on your screen, but hopefully you can see it decent. Remember, these videos do show up in 1080, so if it auto shows up in 720, you can bump it up to 1080. So hopefully I didn't just say 780. Anyways, sometimes just make up stuff in my head. Let's start off with the GFS, all right? We're going to start to keep this going here, and as we're starting to get into Saturday, I am going to break down this icing event for Iowa and surrounding states. We'll have that for you folks that live in the Midwest in the daily forecast, where we'll kind of connect it into tomorrow and Saturday too. But we'll keep this going. This will be a rainmaker for Chicago, the Great Lakes area. This isn't the time we're watching, by the way. We're going to just kind of slowly make our way into the time frame we are watching. And the time, I would say the area we are watching is the eastern U.S. That's why I don't have much of the rest of the country shown in this map. We get into Sunday. I do want to mention we could have a wintry mix in the favored CAD regions, cold air damming regions of the Appalachian Mountains. So, the higher elevations, maybe as far south as like Boone, could get an icy wintry mix that starts your day Sunday. This could bring some wintry weather for the favored areas of interior PA, the higher elevations, New York. But we start to move past that, all right? Let's go on and scoot past all of that. We get into next week. This is getting into Monday and the Tuesday of next week. We have a big-time system that is cutting across the country. So what does that mean? Well, that means it's probably going to bring a whole lot of rain for a lot of people. Rain all the way up into the Great Lakes region. This is not really snow. This could trend to a more snowier scenario in, say, the UP, heck, even lower Michigan. But with this low pressure cutting like this is bringing a lot of warm air from the south. So it's going to be a pretty warm system for this time of the year. Now, this system does bring some cold air behind it. Some of that moisture could change to snow. This is going to be a big rainmaker to start your week next week, getting into the 16th, 17th, 18th of next week, and then that moves out. And then we kind of enter, and I'm not going to do all that on all the model guidance, guys. I'm just going to kind of do it on one just to show you what we're seeing leading up to the time period we are really focusing in on. So as we're starting to get into the morning of the 19th, THU 19, December 19th. You see that 540 line here, that first blue line? That's cold air aloft. There's cold air coming in, at least aloft. And it's going to eventually, obviously, work to the surface here. Okay, we got snow making its way over the Great Lakes region. We got snow over southern Ontario, Quebec. Still a pretty warm system. It gets weird after this. Cold air is settling down. All of a sudden, Thursday night into next Friday morning, we got snow trying to make it all the way down to Tennessee again, the mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee. You can see a low pressure with the darker green starting to develop right here, and it does. All right, so you got two things going on here. We got a lot of energy embedded into the trough right back here. Upper energy, we got snow flying around for a pretty large area of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley here. The darker blues, heavier snow, and this would just bring us a snowy Friday morning, next Friday morning, the 20th. Not a forecast, still figuring out, but there's a lot of energy right here, and it's going to try to dive down. This is the main area of energy initially. Low pressure developing. Yes, this would keep Boston and New York City mainly rain, but it's close. It's close. Heavy snow on the cold side of this for the interior sections of New England and the Northeast. Okay, this turns into a pretty big winter storm for Maine next Friday. Look at the snow trying to get all the way down to the Tennessee Valley. Snow tries to get all the way down to northern Georgia, almost to northeast Alabama. All right, this is getting in the next Friday evening. Heavier snow getting into the mountains. If you're looking for, I would say, some snow right before Christmas, next weekend might be a good weekend for it in the Appalachian Mountains. I'm kind of thinking about it. Just maybe taking a day trip. But anyways, after we get past the first main system, I really think there's an opportunity here for another low pressure to develop. The GFS doesn't really show it, but you see that 540 line, these blue lines diving down. That's cold air, and there's energy there. It's just, does anything develop? Here's some northern stream energy. Dive some more snow showers in late next weekend. This dives down. Then a little of the low pressure tries to develop right here. It's just too far off the coast. That is a time frame to watch. This is getting closer to Christmas Eve. This is the 23rd into the 24th. And then that heads on off. And I will show you folks in Atlantic Canada a little bit more as we get closer to this. And then the GFS just gets kind of wild around Christmas after. We start to get more cold air that pushes in. Here's another system. And yeah, so I know you're thinking, well, that doesn't look like much, but it could. There's a lot of potential here. And I don't know if there's potential for a southeast winter storm right before Christmas. I don't know about that kind of potential, but there's something weird can happen. I mentioned it like crazy yesterday. I'm mentioning it again. I'll probably continue to mention it. Now, what about the Euro? It's the Euro from overnight. Same thing. We're going to zoom through this. There's that ice for Iowa. Here's the first storm system. Mainly rain. Some of the favorite areas could get that wintry mix. Monday, we're getting into Tuesday. The next system is definitely rain as a ridge kind of flexes over the entire lower 48. Big rainmaker across the Northeast Tuesday. This is getting into Wednesday, next Wednesday, the 18th. Then we get more moisture. And here it comes. This looks totally different than the GFS. So this is, I can hear cats behind me. This is getting into next Thursday night and let me slow down. Next Wednesday night into Thursday morning. All rain for most of the Mid-South, or all of the Mid-South and the South, okay? Look at the cold air kind of crashing down on all this moisture right here. So this is some snow for Chicago. We start to get into Thursday morning of next week, not obviously this morning. Look at the heavy snow over Ohio, PA, a little bit of ice back here in Indiana, not a forecast. And then this begins to develop into a larger storm system next Thursday. Look at that heavy snow for Boston. New York City, just rain. But remember, we're not speaking in, grand conclusions here. And you keep going. This is a quick hitter. And then that moves out. All right, and then we start to get into the morning of the 20th, Friday morning, next Friday morning. More moisture continues. A little bit of an active southern stream. Is there a connection, though? Here's some northern stream energy. Cold air crashing down. Not a lot of it making it far enough south yet. And then we get into the next Friday night into Saturday morning, to the 21st. Low pressure develops just in time. Energy trying to catch up. And we're close to something much more significant here. This would bring snow to New York City to Boston. And then it tries to wrap up and turn to something much more significant. I would really watch Atlantic Canada over the next 10 days. And I'm going to talk about it. I got you covered for my friends here in Canada. This could bring lake effect snow, and then cold air drops down 10 days out. And then you got a lot of energy flying around. It doesn't really show it here, but there's a lot of upper energy. Look at the snow flurries in Kentucky. This is getting into the 22nd. Look at another system trying to develop here. Another low pressure wants to bring some snow into southern New England. Look at the snow really close to North Carolina here. There's a lot of stuff going on here that you cannot see that's under the hood. Lot of energy flying around. And here comes another big clipper that dives down. So there's a lot of stuff here. The Canadian model. Here it comes. First, we've already, kind of mentioned the Midwest. Big rainmaker, little bit of interior wintry mix early next week. And then here comes our next system that kind of initiates the pattern. We're getting into Tuesday. Big rainmaker for most people. A little bit of snow on the west side of it. We'll see if this actually happens. It's just one model run. Not the main system we were watching. Big rainmaker midway next week. Cold air trying to catch up with it. And then here comes, it looks totally different on the Canadian. I wouldn't say totally different, but it kind of comes in different. Trough drops differently. This thing gets negative, starts to get positively tilted. And I can see because the blue lines are going straight down. Look at the snow breaking out next Thursday night and a Friday morning across areas of the mid-Mississippi Valley. Western Tennessee. Look at the winter storm developing over the southern Alps. And then the Canadian, once again, shows a system that's taken on a strengthening scenario, that negative tilt. We have a much larger storm system, a flat-out just strong winter storm. Snow trying to make it all the way down to north central Alabama on the backside of this. It's still a cutter. It's cutting across land here. And, this looks like mainly rain for, say, southern New England, but this could still turn to a significant winter storm next Friday and the Saturday based off the Canadian model. And, it takes that low pressure just like it did with the last storm system, almost due north. But then, once again, you watch behind it, there's a lot of energy dropping down. Canadian only goes 10 days out, which I feel like most models should. A lot of snow embedded into this cold air. There's some energy working kind of under the hood here. I really think it's possible. Last thing we'll look at is the Euro AI model. This is a model that has not quite yet earned the respect for everybody. For some people it has, for some people it hasn't. For me, I'm neutral on it. I want to see what it does with this pattern coming up because it has been honking the horn at something going on this time frame for a while now. And I do find it odd and just interesting that model guidance outside the Euro AI model is showing something now too. But we obviously aren't at the time frame yet. So once again, here it comes. We're getting into next Thursday morning, the 19th. I've always said the 18th onward, it gets weird. Here comes our first storm system. It's a big cutter. Cold air, you see the 540 line trying to catch up. And I will note that the Euro AI model only shows all precipitation in green. So if it's snow, it's going to show up as green here, but it's snow. So I'll have to kind of talk us through this and tell you what's snow and what's not, at least the best of my ability. We get into Friday morning. It's the first storm system. You think, oh, well, we missed. Here comes a classic tracking low pressure down here. There's just not enough cold air in the southeast. This is a beautiful track for a southeast winter storm. The cold air just has not moved in yet. But this turns around, rides up the coast, and I'm going to stop it right here. This is next Saturday evening. 996 millibar low, dumping plenty of moisture inland to the mid-Atlantic and then New England. So OOZ Sunday. All right, let's work our way to that period. OOZ Sunday, that is Saturday evening. All right, so we compare this, the green here and here, and then we look at the temperatures in that same area. Looks cold enough for some kind of wintry precipitation. And once you get into kind of the upper portions of North Carolina, mid-30s, so you'll be fighting temperature battles here. But it looks cold enough for something. And this continues. This would turn in, and then look how large this system is. It wants to dump moisture all the way back down to South Carolina Sunday morning. Sunday morning, the temperatures they're almost cold enough for winter weather. A lot of cold air. Look at this cold air dropping down next weekend. And then you continue to move forward. And, I still think, it's worth watching after Christmas. So pretty wild stuff, guys. I know I spent a long time on that, but I just want you guys to see all the model guides. We're going to continue to go over this a lot. I could see us doubling up the videos here in the coming days, especially this weekend. But we're going to look at the 500 millibar pattern, all right? This is, once again, we'll break this down. The blues, lower pressure, unsettled weather, and typically brings a cold front, colder than average temperatures. The orange, the reds, and the warmer colors you see on your screen, that's high pressure, a ridge, normally quieter conditions, normally I would say warmer than average temperatures. So You start next Wednesday morning and you see what happens here. And there it is. That signal for lower pressure begins to pop up in the southeast. Is there a connection to cold air? All right, watch. You see this dip right here? See, first off, let's draw this. You see this ridge spiking all the way up to, northwest Canada, Alaska? All right, that is what we call a positive PNA. You like to see that if you want cold air to get dislodged into the eastern U.S. One thing you're lacking is a negative NAO. Okay, you don't have a lot of cold, you don't have a lot of blocking up here in Greenland to really lock in a storm track. So I really think anything that kind of flows in will flow out pretty fast because there's nothing locking anything in. But regardless, let's not focus on perfection here. Okay, ridge spiking, dislodging cold air into lower pressure right here. Okay, can we get some sort of 50-50 low that develops over Atlantic Canada? Not quite sure. One thing to focus in on is this look right here. This is for next Saturday. It opens up even more. Spike and ridge here. All right, dislodgement of cold air into the blue, the lower pressure. Unsettled weather here. Some kind of connection to cold air. All right, that's the big thing you look at here. And this continues to open up. In fact, it's trended to even lower pressure down here. Okay, so it's what we got to watch. This is kind of the nerding out portion. And, the next thing we'll look at, and we'll kind of nerd out with you a little bit here, is the energy. This is 500 millibar energy in the atmosphere, okay? This is where we kind of find pieces of energy in the northern stream and the lower stream and the southern stream. And you keep this going. Here comes the big initial storm system digging down the GFS. This thing becomes negatively tilted right here. You see how it begins to tilt like that? That's a negative tilt. So it becomes a stronger storm system. Taps into probably a little bit of southern stream energy. And then this is the thing I'm really watching. And models keep showing it. You see this energy right here? This thing begins to dive down. Does it dive down in time to really wrap up into a stronger storm system, tap into some more cold air? This is strongly positive right here as we're getting into next Friday night and a Saturday morning. Okay, but there's cold air to work with here. Does this try to develop into something bigger? It's trying to turn up. Here it is, and it does right at the last second. But one thing you'll watch is there's other pieces of energy too that dives down with this trough. And here comes another one. This is a lot of northern stream energy. Does it tap into anything down here? But this is all of our energy diving into late next week. First round initiates the pattern. Here comes another one. Here comes another one. Here comes another one. Big time period to watch just before Christmas. One thing, that I'll show you that I didn't show you yesterday is the signal for snow. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but this is in 24-hour time frames here. So we'll start off next Tuesday. And you'll see a signal grow on the GFS ensemble here for the southern and central Alps. It's not a lot, but we wouldn't expect a lot at this range. And then it grows for even southern New England, the interior sections of the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and, New England. And there is a signal up here in the Great Lakes region. And there continues to be a little bit of a signal for sections of the upper Southeast, for example. And, I think this extends a little bit further. And there continues just to be small-scale signals here for the Mid-Atlantic and the upper Southeast. So I really think the pattern, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think the pattern supports something to really sneak up on us. It does. So we'll continue to watch. One thing we're the most confident in is below average temperatures coming up. We're very confident in that we know it's going to happen on above average temperatures, at least to start next work week. Okay? But they're not going to hang around. It's not a full-fledged torch pattern at all. And we keep going here. I knew it was going to do that. Man, I don't like when it does that. But we keep going here. We get all the way into next Thursday morning. You see the warmer colors and the cooler colors, which are the blues and the greens, the warmer colors, the oranges and the reds. What that means is just the cooler colors, below average temperatures, the warmer colors, above average temperatures. Let's not focus on compared to average, okay, if that's 10 to 15 degrees below average. Let's just focus on the fact that we got below average temperatures showing up. And we start to get into the end of next week, early next weekend, below average temperatures take over for the weekend right before Christmas. This will definitely set the mood for the holidays for sure. And how long does it hang around? Well, the Euro Ensemble says it hangs around all the way till about Christmas, and then it might start to warm up. It already starts to warm up for the rest of the country. All right, and then you look at the GFS Ensemble. Same thing, warm up early next week and the midway next week. The warm-up kind of hangs around, gets back to around average. You're going to continue to stay above average out in the western U.S. And then we start to get into late next work week, below average temperatures settle in. And then the potential for well below average temperatures settle in. We get all the way into late next weekend, and you're getting about 5 to 15 degrees below average settling in for the eastern U.S. On the GFS Ensemble, it hangs around all the way into Christmas Eve, which is as far out as it goes on this. And I will show you the latest. This is the latest Climate Prediction Center outlook from yesterday. It's starting to open it up back to more average temperatures. And this is between the 19th all the way to Christmas Day time period, the 8 to 14 day outlook. I think by the time we get into 3 to 4 o'clock this afternoon, we're going to see probably this entire area forecast to be below average temperatures. That is my bet. It might ooze a little bit further north, but I think confidence is increasing enough that we're about to enter below average temperatures on this outlook for the days leading up to Christmas at least. So we'll continue to watch. I'm very interested in this time period, guys. I am. So we'll see what happens. Today's forecast, we got some snow showers and snow flurries, maybe some bursts of heavy snow right smack in the middle of the country. Lake effect snows continue to rage on. Some thunder snow has been reported already. I follow a guy that lives in Buffalo, and he is very passionate about chasing this. I kind of lived through the guy a little bit, but it's pretty wild. He's really enjoying it up here, but you got a big-time lake effect snow band pivoting all the way through the Adirondacks right now of New York, and we got some more so kind of northwest to southeast, or more so north to south, flowed lake effect snow in the UP of Michigan, the lower of Michigan. And we got a big system that's big right now, but will kind of, I would say, peter out a little bit for the western U.S., bringing some heavy snow for the higher elevations of the Sierra Nevada, a little bit of snow for the Cascades. But the southern tier of the country is pretty quiet this morning. Watches, warnings, and advisories. We do have cold weather advisories for the bitterly cold air that's ongoing right now. We have multiple winter storm warnings up for the UP of Michigan, lower Michigan. The pinks are the winter storm warnings. The purples are the winter weather advisories. And then this green shaded color, that's lake effect snow warnings up for Erie, all the way up into Buffalo, Watertown, of course. But the wild thing is this extends all the way to almost the Vermont-New York line. So that tells you have a pretty long lake effect snow band going on right now. Pretty wild stuff. The risk of excessive rainfall will zoom out here. There is none, so we're happy about that. And with this Arctic air mass really clearing through the region, there's not really a chance of thunderstorms today. Besides maybe, let's see if they have anything. Nope, nothing. So we're good to go there. By the way, definitely hit up WeatherWise. It's an awesome free app for the public to use. I'm telling you, that thing has been a game changer on my YouTube channel. But the southeast today, cold high dominating, nothing to speak on. Cooler temperatures, nothing compared to last week, but it'll be pretty cold today for a good portion of the southeast. But enjoy the weather. It's a beautiful day, beautiful Thursday. Northeast, most people will be fine. We're going to have some of this lake effect snow that breaks loose and just a lower energy over this area. So we're going to have some snow squalls that could impact all the way through Vermont, New Hampshire. Heck, could get all the way down to Boston, Mass, all the way across the northern sections of Maine. But the lake effect snows right here, these banding features are going to be wild. Southern Ontario would just get wisping lake effect snows on and off. Could get some, like I said, some snow showers, snow flurries all the way to Boston. Could get some snow showers this evening. All the way into southern New England. It's very possible. And that lake effect snowband will really continue off Lake Ontario. And I think by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon, it will still be going on off Ontario, but I really think it'll begin to settle down somewhat. But snowfall between now and the next 48 hours, Watertown going for 20-21 inches of snow just south of Watertown, that little orange area. That's the potential over the next 48 hours of 2.5 feet of snow. Syracuse, inch or two. Utica, inch or two. Buffalo, maybe 2 to 3 inches of snow just south of Buffalo. Trying to think of the name of that town. Man, Orchard Park will certainly get a lot more than actual Buffalo will, even though some people considers it the same area, probably. But 2 feet of snow, easily possible just south of Buffalo, between Buffalo and Jamestown, and these communities here. So definitely be prepared for that. And then we will slip on down to PA here. Erie could get another foot and a half of snow, guys. So please take this serious in Erie County. I don't even know how much snow you guys have gotten already this year. Pretty wild stuff. But the South Central U.S., quiet like the Southeast. Just quiet weather expected. It's been very quiet down here for a while. I mean, there's not really been anything to speak on for quite some time now. So, enjoy your weather. The North Central U.S., we're going to get these lake effect snow bands into the UP of Michigan, northern lower Michigan. We're going to get some snow showers that will continue across Iowa all the way into Illinois. A band of light to moderate snow could get going in central Illinois today, make it all the way over to Indianapolis later this afternoon, and then eventually maybe all the way into the western to central sections of Ohio in the form of just some light snow. Could make it all the way to extreme northern sections of Kentucky, and then you can see the flow of this lake effect snow will begin to shift more so west to east here. And then we'll get all the way into tomorrow evening, and we'll start to get some moisture that'll bubble up here. We're going to get some freezing rain potential for Omaha, Des Moines, western sections of Iowa, all the way into southeast South Dakota, southwest Minnesota, and then it'll begin to take over a good portion of Iowa, and we'll just get a flat-out wintry mix all the way up into Minnesota, and this is as far out as we can go. And I will speak on the freezing rain for this first. This is between now and basically this weekend. I mean, a good tenth, somebody could squeeze in 2/10 of an inch of ice. This will be noticeable ice. I don't think it's going to be enough to prompt a winter storm warning. I don't think, or an ice storm warning. But this is some decent ice totals, and we will look at Nebraska here. I got some viewers from this area. If you live in eastern Nebraska, a little bit of ice accumulation from this is possible. And then we look at Minnesota, a couple tenths of an inch of ice, and then not much, but enough to make it noticeable. And then, you look at Wisconsin, a little bit of ice for southwest Wisconsin too. So definitely be aware of this freezing rain events. I mean, 1 to 2, I would say a tenth to 2/10 of an inch of ice is definitely enough to cause some travel issues. So the western U.S., this system will continue to move in, but it will lose some steam as it starts to move into the western Rockies. We'll get some snow showers in the favorite areas in Nevada, Oregon, Washington State. This energy will try to make it all the way over to northern Utah in the form of some snow showers by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning. And then another system will greet you guys in the western U.S., higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain. Temperatures today locked in below freezing. Very cold day ahead of a surge of warm air for Iowa today. I mean, highs only in the single digits in northern Iowa, points north. Wisconsin, some highs won't even make it to 0 degrees. Locked into the single digits in the teens for the Great Lakes area. The Northeast, just about everybody will be below freezing besides the I-95 corridor. Cold day in the Southeast, 40s, 50s. And then the western U.S., about average. Nothing too crazy. That's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all and have a wonderful day.